Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you all for coming. We're here today to announce two new initiatives. A statewide conviction review unit housed here at the Attorney General's office, and a statewide cold case network involving the New Jersey State Police and covering the entire state of New Jersey. Both initiatives mark a major step forward for New Jersey's criminal justice system. The first, the Conviction Review Unit, will investigate prisoners' claims of actual innocence and determine whether any of those individuals were wrongly convicted. The second, the Cold Case Network, will involve a statewide task force of regional cold case units that pool resources and deploy new technologies to solve old crimes. These two programs are both based on one simple premise, that those who are innocent should not remain in prison, and that those who are guilty should not remain on our streets. And these programs reiterate our view that we can promote public safety while also strengthening the public's confidence in the criminal justice system. As part of today's event, I am particularly honored to announce that the Honorable Carolyn Murray, who until yesterday served as a Superior Court judge in Essex County, has agreed to step down from the bench and serve as the first director of our statewide conviction review unit. I had the pleasure of swearing Carolyn in just a few moments ago, and I am confident that Judge Murray, who has spent her entire life working to improve the criminal justice system, including a stint right down the hallway for Attorney General Paula Dow, will bring the same integrity and the same intellectual rigor to this new assignment that she has brought to every distinguished position she has held throughout her career. You'll hear from Judge Murray in a moment, but first let me take a step back. Last year, I asked two of New Jersey's most thoughtful public figures, former New Jersey Supreme Court Justice Virginia Long, who is with us this morning, and former U.S. Attorney Paul Fishman, who cannot make it here this morning. I asked the two of them to convene a working group to study two issues: whether the Attorney General's office should create a statewide conviction review unit, and whether we should create a statewide cold case unit. They pulled together an exceptional team that included everyone from police chiefs to prosecutors, to public defenders, to leaders of the Innocence Project. I received their final report several weeks ago, and after carefully reviewing it, I have largely accepted all of their recommendations. And to help fund this effort, we've secured a grant from the United States Department of Justice, which will provide nearly $250,000 to get the Conviction Review Unit up and running. I want to thank Justice Long, former U.S. Attorney Fishman, and their entire group, some of whom are here today. I want to thank them for their extraordinary commitment to this project, and the full list of the participants is included in the final report, which we are also making public this morning. And we hope that this final report can not just serve as a model for this state, but also a model for the rest of the country as to what the fair administration of justice can and should look like. My fellow speakers will provide additional details about the Conviction Review Unit and the Cold Case Network, but I'd like to provide a few high-level points. To ensure its independence, the Conviction Review Unit will be housed within our Office of Public Integrity and Accountability, or OPIA, led by Tom Eicher, who is here with us today as well. This means that the unit will operate outside the supervisory chain of the Division of Criminal Justice and county prosecutors' offices. The unit will be tasked with reviewing claims of actual innocence, and they will be tasked with determining whether those claims have merit and making recommendations to me about appropriate action. The statewide cold case network will involve a system of regional task forces modeled on the North Jersey Regional Cold Case Task Force that we announced in Bergen County just last week. That task force consists of members of the Bergen County Prosecutor's Office, the Passaic County Prosecutor's Office, and the Essex County Prosecutor's Office, as well as the Newark Police Department and the New Jersey State Police. In the short time that they have been in existence, the North Jersey Regional Cold Case Task Force has solved 2 cold case homicides and a cold case sexual assault. That is proof of concept that this model can work. We envision that these units will be staffed by our prosecutors and detectives from our county prosecutors' offices and our municipal police departments, with additional support from the New Jersey State Police, as well as from our Office of Public Integrity and Accountability. Colonel Pat Callahan is also here with us this morning and will share a few remarks about this initiative as well as others. We see these two programs, the Cold Case Task Force and the Conviction Review Unit, as two sides of the same coin, with a shared commitment to finding out the truth and ensuring that justice is done in each and every case. That's why, among other responsibilities, the Cold Case Network will be tasked with reinvestigating any cases where the Conviction Review Unit concludes that a previously convicted defendant was in fact innocent. It is all part of our effort to ensure that the right people are held accountable for their wrongdoing and that we protect the public from those who commit dangerous crimes. Today's announcement is just the start. In the coming months, Judge Murray and others will be working to get these programs up and running. And as the Fishman Long report makes clear, this is the first time that a state attorney general's office has created a conviction review unit with true statewide jurisdiction. And we are committed to getting it right. And with the groundwork laid by this working group, I am confident that we will. We want the people of New Jersey to know that we are committed to doing justice every day, and we owe it to victims and their families who have suffered for far too long. Those victims are in our hearts each and every day, but especially now as we honor them during National Crime Victims' Rights Week. These two groundbreaking initiatives will not only help us fulfill that commitment to honor victims, but will also ensure that New Jersey remains a national leader in the fair administration of justice. It's now my pleasure to turn the podium over to Justice Long, who led this effort, for some remarks. Justice Long?
I would like to thank the Attorney General on my own behalf and on that of Paul Fishman for the opportunity to co-chair this working group. General, it's a tribute to your vision of a just society that you commissioned this working group and gave us a free hand in our deliberations. This was a labor of love, basically, for all of the members of the working group. We know from studies that we can estimate between 1% and 5% of all incarcerated individuals have been wrongly convicted. For rapes and rape murders, the number is much higher. So applying the most parsimonious model, that would be 1%, to our prison population, we're talking about 15,000 wrongly convicted individuals. And yet, in 2018, only 118 exonerations took place across the entire country. And in the prior 30 years, only 2,300 for 30 years. We know that we have not gotten our arms around this subject. So the work of the working group was difficult, but it was inspiring. And I can tell you that the brilliance and the expertise of the members of the working group was only exceeded by their work ethic. Achieving consensus on anything is always difficult. I spent a lifetime sitting on multiple person courts, and I can tell you that firsthand. But the goodwill of the members of this working group was beyond anything I've ever experienced, and I have chaired many committees and commissions over the years. As the Attorney General pointed out, this is the first statewide model, which we look to because we have the model in place in terms of the relationship between the Attorney General and prosecutors' offices. But a statewide model has many special benefits, and the first and most important of which, at least in my estimation, is uniformity and predictability of decision-making. It's not going to be coming from all different directions with all different standards. We will have a uniform and predictable decision-making model. It will eliminate the idea of bias, which people sometimes feel would happen if the organization that originally investigated and prosecuted a case got the second crack at it. And finally, it will create parity in staffing and resources, which is absolutely necessary. Now, this working group studied every single model in existence across the country, and we adopted the best of what we found in the models of our sister states and of other innocence organizations. Essentially, the model is a funnel, which is wide at the top and narrows as the investigation goes forward. That way, we sweep in as many possible cases as we can. It is a collaborative model between the prosecutors, the defense bar, and we plan to use the resources of other innocence organizations to assist in intake and investigation. I think the most important takeaway, though, is this. This is going to be a work in progress. It's going to mutate over the course of time as our experience deepens, and with the help of the advisory committee, which is part and parcel of our report. Finally, I want to say again that I remain grateful to the Attorney General for having the opportunity to participate in what I consider this great work. Thank you.
I want to once again thank Justice Long, the entire working group, for their efforts, as well as U.S. Attorney Fishman, who couldn't be here. It's now my pleasure to introduce someone who really needs no introduction given her long public service journey in this state, and that's the Honorable Carolyn Murray. But I will just say this, and I'm going to read from the report which we made public today when it recommended who we should hire as a director for this unit. And the report states that the director should enjoy a reputation among the bench and bar for integrity, for fairness, and for a collaborative work ethic. I can think of no one who fits that description better than Judge Murray. So it's my honor to introduce the director of the Conviction Review Unit, the Honorable Carolyn Murray.
General, Justice, and everyone who is here today, thank you so much. Criminal justice, for all the years that I've been involved in it, to me is about really essentially many of the same things. Protecting people, their safety in the community, protecting people's rights in dealing with government, and righting wrongs. I believe that what we're doing today under the guidance and of the committee report and under the authority of the Attorney General's office is adding an important component to that, to assure that that has been done. I represent to you that we will go forward with a collaborative spirit. We will go forward with an intent to listen and to hear, to take in, as the Justice has indicated, petitions from any source, and to consider them using the combined experience and resources of both the Conviction Review Unit itself and the wisdom of a community advisory board that we are going to form, which will be one of our top priorities. So it is with great pleasure that I accept this role. It will be an honor to serve the Attorney General. It will be an honor to do this work. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Murray, and welcome back. And it is now my honor to introduce the Colonel of the New Jersey State Police, Pat Callahan.
Thank you, General. Good morning, everybody. General, Justice, Judge, Tom, Prosecutor. What I'm going to talk about, it's a little bit different, but what the underlying foundation of both the Conviction Review Unit and the Cold Case Task Force is about people, and it's about people's lives. In next month, we're going to have our third Missing in New Jersey event, which is really all about supporting those families of long-term missing persons. We were talking before this morning, and that feeling of if you've ever lost your 5-year-old in a clothing rack in a mall for 10 seconds, for those families that have gone years, you compound that feeling of shock and anxiety, and that just goes on for year after year. So we found that this event, Missing in New Jersey, brings families together, not only to talk about the support networks out there, but really to try and track down some investigative opportunities. And that may include swabbing, taking DNA swabs from brothers or sisters, in order to check them against the missing persons and unidentified persons database. One quick anecdote, the first time we held this was in May of 2017, and we had a missing young man from New Jersey who struggled with some mental issues. But 7 years had gone by, and his family decided to come to this. They saw that it was advertised, and they went. And that DNA swab got checked against a lab and a database down in Texas, and it came back to a match of a young man that was found deceased in an abandoned house down in Florida. I always hesitate to use the word closure. I don't know what that means to people, but I know what that did for that family was it let them know that their son, that they had the ability now to lay him to rest, and that question of how or where, maybe the why never got answered, but it's just, again, back to the underlying cause and foundation of what these units and this event that's coming up is about, trying to give people some sense of peace, and whether that's solving an aggravated sexual assault, whether that's solving a homicide, whether that's getting somebody out of prison who's been there maybe for years and was wrongly convicted. That is new life for those people who may have been wrongly convicted. That is new life for a victim that's able to move on. So May 18th, in partnership with the Newark Police Department and Rutgers University School of Criminal Justice, we are having this event, again, to offer our support to those families who live day in and day out with wondering where their loved ones are. And it is a tremendous event to be a part of. So I just put it out there, May 18th in Newark, where the state police will be there to host and to make sure that these families are not forgotten, and that we do everything within our power to try and at least give them some peace moving forward. So thank you, General, for the opportunity.
Thanks, Matt. Before we take your questions, I really want to take a moment to thank all those who are instrumental in this effort and who are here. We have some members of the working group here. We have Mercer County Prosecutor Angelo Onifrey. I want to thank Angelo for his help in the working group. First Assistant Public Defender Kevin Walker is here. And also from the Public Defender's Office, the Director of Training and Communications, Jennifer Saletti, is here. I want to thank them. I want to thank, obviously, Justice Long, Paul Fishman, but from Justice Long's office, Corinne Berza-Kelly DeBerry. I got that right, and the Assembly has it wrong. But I want to thank them for putting together and leading this effort. And a special thank you to the people from within our Department of Law and Public Safety. From the New Jersey State Police under the leadership of Superintendent Callahan, Lieutenant Colonel Jeff Noble, who is here this morning. From the Division of Criminal Justice under the leadership of Director Veronica Allende, I want to thank Counsel Anne Marie Taggart and Special Assistant Sarah Quigley, who's been part of this effort from the very beginning. I want to thank Sarah and Anne Marie personally for taking on additional roles and responsibilities above what they do on a day-to-day basis to help see this to the finish line. And I also want to thank my Deputy Chief of Staff, Jonathan Gerlich, who's in the back, for all of his work. We have victim advocate Elizabeth Roodman. When Elizabeth began her work on this working group, she was in the private sector. Since that time, she's joined the Attorney General's office and is helping lead our efforts to reform how we provide services to victims across the state. And I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Centurion, formerly Centurion Ministries. Centurion is a nonprofit innocence organization. They will partner with the Conviction Review Unit and will provide assistance in intake and screening, as well as in training and in policy development. With that, we're happy to take your questions regarding today's announcement.